weaselly, like we were talking about before, politicians that don't want to answer the question about Israel or whatever it is, and they just punch through the wall and are just like, love it or leave it. It's like, I can understand why that appeals to a certain type of person, because you don't just look at him. You have to look at what is this happening in the context of.
That's right.
Because it's not just Trump; it's what is Trump a response to. The
It's
opposite
not
is rewarded.
I'm not jealous of where you have to sit on that, because in what you do, you have to be reporting on stories all the time, which means you have to be putting out information, which means also to get eyeballs on that, you have to be actively going through things on Twitter. It doesn't mean you have to be ridiculous or anything like that, but like, you're required to be active all the time on there. Whereas like, my rule of thumb is 99.99% of the tweets I type out, people never see. It doesn't even go to drafts. It goes 5, 4, 3, delete.
No, I like them because I like your tweets because there's such a like palate cleanse from everything else. It's just
mine?
Like, yeah.
The ones that make it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like so unlike all the other stuff that I follow.
But I'm not required to give my thought. Like,
no, that's what's refreshing about it. You clearly don't give a shit about like everyone else is like carefully packaging it to be blah blah blah.
No, I'm just like, if I'm feeling like Ben Franklin's that gangster,
yeah,
that's kind of where I'm at. But yeah, I mean, what do you make of the Trump-Elon breakup? I mean, that still is pretty fresh. Can't say I was surprised at all, but shit got a little reality TV there for a minute, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it reminds me of when he had Trump had Zelensky in the White House, and he goes, wasn't it? That was great television, wasn't it?
Unbelievable
it's just like
television.
Unreal, yeah. So I don't know. It was kind of the breakup that we all expected was going to happen, right? Like two volatile personalities. But I wrote a story on this, thinking, wondering, who will end up on top. And my prediction was not Trump, is that it'll be Elon, for the reasons that we were describing before, how powerful these corporations are becoming. And you're seeing him now reorient and talk about how he's going to fund Democratic candidates, and it's going to completely change the equation in the next election. And so I'm very curious to see if I'm correct. But these didn't used to be questions even just 20 years ago, like, oh, what is the CEO going to do? And we've all just adapted to this new reality, which is strange. Should someone have that much power? These questions haven't even been asked, much less, debated.
What do you think, Elon Musk? Do you think he's trying to do things actually for the right reason, or do you think it's a wolf in sheep's clothing?
Well, nobody does things for one reason. There's always a variety. One of them is money, power. Another might be power. Another might be interest in technology, or so I see him as a mixed figure. He reminds me a lot of Trump in a number of ways. Maybe a younger version of Trump, in the sense that there's a lot that I don't like about him, but I can understand why people, when he says stuff like go to Mars, I can see why that appeals to people, because it's this kind of like thinking big that you just don't see. Yes. And in politics, so much of is like, oh, we're going to have a 2% rebate on this thing, and it's just all piecemeal. And then to have someone come in like Trump and do stuff that a lot of stuff that I personally don't agree with, but like it's very clear what it is, and it's thinking big about, again, stuff that I don't necessarily agree with, but it's thinking big and clear in bold-faced letters, Yeah. And so I think that's his appeal. And when it's a response to this weaselly, like we were talking about before, politicians that don't want to answer the question about Israel or whatever it is, and they just punch through the wall and are just like, love it or leave it. It's like, I can understand why that appeals to a certain type of person, because you don't just look at him. You have to look at what is this happening in the context of.
That's right.
Because it's not just Trump; it's what is Trump a response to, and it's not until you look at that context that you understand why they are what they are. And in Elon's case, it's like, how did he make all this money? From what I've read about him, he would look at for SpaceX, for example, he would look at the production of the rockets and say, oh, why do we need this? They'd be like, oh, I guess we don't. Like, rip that out, get rid of that. And it's like, so like you had these incumbent companies like Lockheed Martin that had an easy way, and they didn't really care if you had all this extra stuff, because we're going to get the contract anyways. So, I mean, that's just a sitting duck for someone like Musk to come in and shake things up, and that's basically what Trump did. So I see them similar in that way.
Do you think, I'll come back to Elon in a second, but do you think that Doge, even though it I guess, like, ended at the end there, and then there was this breakup. Do you think that some of that worked and actually left a mark, or it's more symbolic than anything and just points out the obvious in the room, which is that we have a problem?
No, it seems symbolic, and I think Musk himself has said that it wasn't. I think he's reflected on it and said that it wasn't effective, or I think he's complained that he was undercut. And to the extent that Trump allowed to happen, it seems like it was sort of like this, hey, look at all this waste. I mean, but then you look at the Pentagon budget, it's gonna be $1 trillion. It's the biggest one we've ever had. So it's like, well, how does that fit? It doesn't. But so, it seems like Trump sort of let it go on as a sort of theatrical demonstration of, oh, look how much we're doing about cost. But
Sure.
even Musk himself seems pretty negative about it at this point.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that is also tied to, like, the bad taste in his mouth with how things ended versus, like, what they were actually able to do. But it does feel like even one of the most powerful guys in the country who helped fund, the guy who won office, you're going up against such a big machine with so many tentacles, you don't even know where the tentacles are. Like, cynically, I don't know how he even finds some of these things when, we don't even know what the budget is. It's a black budget for a reason. It's like, it could be 35 trillion, could be 10 trillion. Who the fuck knows?
Well, forget about classified. I mean, obviously that's a problem. We don't even know the unclassified expenditures. I mean, you can look at legislation and see that it says this and that, but in any sort of itemized way to see, like, what does it mean? It's really hard to find that stuff out. I mean, as a reporter, I have to look at, there's Inspector General reports, there's the Government Accountability Office, there's different things that you can find, bits and pieces. But even just as an example, another learning experience I had as a reporter was calling somebody and saying, hey, this office, what's that about? They're like, I didn't even know that office existed, from somebody who works in an adjacent office. So I can't stress enough how much people don't even realize what's in there. And there's no such thing as a government. Just there should be something that says, here are the agencies and here's a flow chart. I mean, they do have that for, like, the top line stuff.
A directory.
Yeah, exactly. And they don't have it for everything.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what FOIA is. This stuff, I mean, there's two approaches. One is you have to go and request it and hope that they send it to you. Another one is that they would proactively release it. It's crazy that they don't proactively release a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it just gets it gets weird when you think about also where people sit and how, like we talked about semantics earlier, the whole USAID thing. It's like you can dress something up as this part of the government, but in reality, it's, there's, like, I don't know what it's called, but, like, when people can put the hands in the machine and move around like that, there's hands going in the machine and it's from another part of the government, but it's not tied. You can't find that in a directory, to your point. So if there's something good to come out of it, maybe we at least have confirmation that is the way things work. So now people can be suspicious of, certain organizations within government that claim to be doing this. And it's like, are you really doing that? Probably not.
Yeah, USAID is a good example of that. Because, to the extent that it does things that help people, which I'm sure that it does, that's good. But how much do we know about this thing? And, so much of it is opaque. And to the extent that I've read oversight reports on it, a lot of money is spent on administrative costs. And of course, it's about the advancement of U.S. Geopolitical aims, which isn't necessarily bad. But that's different in character than, just helping people.
Right.
And so, I think there's this effort to try to say, oh, you're against helping people. And it's like, well, it's a little bit more complicated than that. So to the extent that you involve people in it to get them to question things, I think that's good.
Yeah.
And rather than just have this all be decisions that are made in Washington that is never really discussed.
Elon also came in at a time where people were extremely came into the political process, I should say, at a time where people were very concerned about free speech and things that were happening on platforms. And I believe when he was literally, like, taking over Twitter, that's when you were reporting on some of the stuff with Homeland Security. That was the one with Li Fang you were doing, right? Back then. So what did you guys find there that Homeland Security was trying to do vis-a-vis some of these companies to, like, censor disinformation?
Yeah, so they had kind of modes of communication set up. Subsequently, I found out even gaming companies do with a lot of these national security entities, in which they could communicate with them about threats of foreign influence operations. And the thing is, it kept growing. It was like sprawling. At first, it's something narrow, like Russian disinformation, maybe Ukraine, and then it starts to spread to health disinformation around COVID. And it was kind of like, well, first of all, they're not really talking about it. Second of all, what are going to be the guardrails in place? Like at what point, like there's an endless amount of like falsehoods if that's what you're looking at. I mean, I don't understand. I don't like the word disinformation because it's kind of like, it's sort of a paranoid word. It assumes that somebody's spreading something that's false on purpose. I think we all know people that just believe wrong things because they just believe wrong things. Right. You don't have to assume that they're trying to operate some deception or something. But so that was kind of the focus of it. And then once we reported on it, it was kind of crazy because it was like Department of Homeland Security is doing it, FBI is doing it, DOD has its own thing. And so it's like this huge thing that they're popping up like daisies everywhere. They created something called the Foreign Malign Influence Center.
Foreign Malign Influence Center.
Yeah, and that was in 2024, I think, where it was created at the level of the Office of Director of National Intelligence. So this was like a really senior level position as opposed to like the lower level efforts that had been going on before. And I started reading about it. I was like, what is the point of this? And it hadn't been reported. I think, I was the first to report it. And I say that because I'm sort of sad that it's like something that important didn't get any coverage because not only is it another agency, it turns out they had created so many of these counter disinformation agencies that they needed the Foreign Malign Influence Center to coordinate with all of them because it was getting to be such a mess with all of the different agencies doing duplicative and overlapping things. So that gives you a sense of the breadth of what was happening. And again, prior to my story, there had not been a single thing written about this intelligence community entity that, I mean, God knows how much money was spent on it, but also to the point, just this massive machine that had been developed.
Sounds like they read 1984. They just took the wrong takeaway right there. Well, I mean, the thing that people have to accept, and it sucks, and we said this, I mean, at least I know a lot of people who were saying this. I was saying this a few years ago when he went to take over. It's like free speech is painful. You're going to get some bad shit. I mean, you and I can both open up Twitter every day and be like, "Woo, this is..."
it's ugly, yeah.
It's very ugly.
Freedom comes at a price.
But exactly. The alternative is historically worse every time.
Totally.
And I always have to remind myself of that because sometimes I'm like, can't they just...
No, I get it.
I'm like,
I feel that
you can't do that. You got to let them... that they're crazy. You got to let good speech win. And that's the world we're living in. But it's helpful when guys like you are also finding some of these things and bringing it to the people to be like, yo, this is a real concern and here's how they're doing it and you should know about it. And it gives us all an understanding of what's happening out there. So I appreciate your work in kind of getting that out to the people. Also doing it from a position like you were at The Intercept at the time, but now you have your own Substack and you're back completely on your own, just reporting on everything. And it's great stuff. So people should go hit the link in description.
Thanks, man. Yes, they should. I second that.
But Ken, we're going to have to do this again sometime, man. I really enjoyed this conversation.
It was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
All right. Everyone join Ken's Substack if you want all the information on all the stories that he gave today. And, I mean, like I said, you're covering literally everything there. So you'll get your full news fix as well from another great independent perspective.
Thanks, man.
All right. Everybody else, you know what it is. Give it a thought. Get back to me. Peace. Thank you guys for checking out this clip. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. It is a huge, huge help. And if you'd like to check out this clip's full podcast episode, that link is in the description below or right here. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and X by using the links in my description below.